If you've got a few of these, you probably think you need one of these, a mid-size SUV. Today we're doing a deep dive on the Nissan X-Trail to see if it's a good option for families on a budget. And I say budget because it's the most affordable petrol-powered X-Trail you can buy new in Australia today. Should it be on your shopping list? You'll have to watch till the end of the video to find out, and make sure you subscribe to the Car Sales YouTube channel and hit that little bell icon so you don't miss out the next time we review a family SUV. The Nissan X-Trail was born in the early 2000s, so in human terms, it's a Gen Z. But in the car world, it's well into its fourth generation, and like the Patrol and Pathfinder, it has a strong heritage and no shortage of options in the range. You can get the X-Trail as a petrol or hybrid, with 5 seats in 2-wheel drive form, or with 4-wheel drive and 7 seats. But what else can you get for similar money? Well, the Toyota RAV4 still dominates the medium SUV segment, while the Mitsubishi Outlander, Mazda CX-5 and Kia Sportage are all popular choices. As mentioned, there's a host of trim grades available with pricing that starts from just under $40,000 and stretches to around $60,000. This one sits right at the bottom because it's the petrol-powered front-wheel drive X-Trail ST. There's no long list of options here, but if you do want metallic paint, you'll have to fork out another $750. Every X-Trail is covered by a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, and Nissan offers several prepaid maintenance plans. If you go for a 3-year deal, services work out at just under $400 per visit, which is a little pricier than the related Mitsubishi Outlander, but works out cheaper than the Mazda CX-5 on average. The most affordable X-Trail ST rides on 17-inch alloy wheels and gets LED headlights, silver roof rails, and silver and black exterior accents. Overall, a modern-looking, inoffensive SUV. Like many of its rivals, the X-Trail is available with a fuel-savvy petrol-electric powertrain, which will save you in running costs in the long term, but if you want something cheaper to buy outright, the petrol is the way to go. It's the same 2.5-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine that you'll find in the Mitsubishi Outlander, because in case you didn't know, the X-Trail and the Outlander are related, and in fact they're basically the same car underneath. The Mitsi is also $10 cheaper than this car. True story. Budget-conscious buyers probably won't be surprised to find more basic materials inside the cheaper entry-level X-Trail, but I've got to say, this thing feels far from basic and far from cheap. It's actually really nice. There's a lot of soft materials. There's a nice non-piano black finish here, which is great because you're not going to have smudges and all sorts going on here. This is nice and padded, these door cards, nice materials here, nice and soft. I do wish that the steering wheel had a sort of leather pointed finish on it. It's just a hard plastic, which I don't love, but you could get a steering wheel cover, I guess. In more expensive versions of the X-Trail, you do get like a wood grain kind of effect on the dash, but here you've got like 3 tones. I'm not a huge fan of this brown, and then the other tones kind of like grey, brown, black. I don't know about that, but then again, something different. The good news is there's heaps of adjustability here for humans of all sizes behind the wheel. So you've got telescopic reach and a height adjust steering wheel. And then the manual adjust seats also go forwards, backwards, pretty far, and up and down, really high if you've got a short person behind the wheel. The cloth upholstery is also quite soft, and the seats are nice and padded, so longer stints behind the wheel shouldn't be an issue. Storage gets another big tick. You get this big double-decker center console, a 2-piece lidded center bin, which is pretty big. Then you've got these 2 cup holders, which aren't spring-loaded. So I actually spilled a bit of coffee this morning because it kind of just doesn't fit properly. But you've got big door bins. You'll fit a bottle much bigger than that down here. And then you've got this rubber tray up front for your phone, but if you've got anything bigger than an iPhone 15 and you've got it plugged in, it's not going to fit perfectly in there. The 8-inch touchscreen you get in this car is much smaller than what you get in mid and top spec versions of the X-Trail, which get a more modern 12.3-inch screen. And in isolation, this one's perfectly fine. It's easy to use, intuitive, graphics are pretty good, so no complaints here. Despite the fact this unit is smaller, you still get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, but no navigation. Another difference you'll notice in lower spec grades like this one is you don't get a fully digital instrument cluster, only the center piece is digital, but it's still easy to read, simple to use. You can just flick through the buttons on the steering wheel for your digital speedo, driver assist info, fuel economy, all that kind of stuff. The petrol ST grade is the only variant to miss out on a 360-degree camera and front parking sensors. Instead, you'll have to make do with a regular rear view camera and rear parking sensors, which work just fine. When it comes to safety, every version of the latest Nissan X-Trail is fitted with the all-important safety gear. But it's worth noting that, again, the ST misses out, this time on Nissan's more advanced ProPilot semi-autonomous driving aids. This is the 5-seat X-Trail, so obviously there's no third row back there, and it also means there's plenty of space for this second row. You can't adjust the seat base though, however, you can adjust a tiny bit of reclining action for this seat back, which might help if you want to have a nap at some point. But anywho, as I mentioned, really spacious, heaps of legroom, headroom, and I reckon if you had this baby seat or a similar size seat, you could probably still fit 2 adults in relative comfort back here if you had to. Rear doors that open almost 90 degrees will be a real plus for parents, as it makes loading kids into the car a lot easier. Standard features include air vents, 2 USB outlets, seat back pockets, and a cup holder in each door. The outboard seats are fitted with ISOFIX anchorage points, and there are 3 top tethers too. What you don't get on the entry-level X-Trail is an electric tailgate, so you'll have to open and close the boot by yourself, which isn't too difficult. You do get a lot of boot space though. This measures up at 585 litres, which means it beats out the RAV4, the Outlander, and the CX-5 by a pretty good margin. You can also remove this cargo blind and fold the 60-40 split fold seats flat if you need to for extra room. But as is, you can fit a full-size suitcase and a carry-on with a bit of room to spare. The ST misses out on the dividing boot floor found in other grades, but you do get a space saver spare tyre. All right, now that the family's strapped in, it's time to hit the road. We get to drive a lot of new cars, so first impressions really count, particularly in the very competitive medium SUV segment. One of my first feelings hopping into the X-Trail is how fuss-free it is. And that's great. It's a really good thing because it means you can just get in and go and not worry about safety systems yelling at you, worrying about finding where things are, because everything that you need, at least to get in and go, the stop-start button, electric handbrake, everything is just easy to find here. The 4-cylinder engine is nothing special and it's not really new either. It has had some tweaks, but it was in the last X-Trail as well. There's more than enough power to keep up with traffic, but what I have noticed is throttle response can be a little bit unpredictable and even a bit jerky, so your inputs need to be as smooth as possible. Overall though, the CVT feels like a good match, but if you start to push this engine too hard, that CVT and 4-cylinder produces a fair bit of noise and that filters into the cabin. It's also really easy to break front-wheel drive traction, so I've found. It feels fairly well tied down. I have noticed when you start to push it, you get a little bit of body roll here and there, but again, nothing major. And it feels compliant and just well sorted over bumps, speed humps, potholes. It takes a fair bit to shake up the X-Trail. Overall, I'd say it handles slightly better than the Outlander, but I still wouldn't say that this is the most athletic midsize SUV. The X-Trail on test is the only variant fitted with 17-inch alloy wheels, and they provide decent comfort levels. In terms of refinement, cabin insulation is pretty good. There's not a whole heap of road noise coming in. The only thing you're really bound to hear is that gruff CVT if you're accelerating harder than you really need to, or the kids screaming. We weren't able to match or even near Nissan's combined fuel consumption claim on test. However, the majority of our time was spent in and around the city and suburbs. One gripe I have got with the X-Trail is visibility, but only at the front quarter because these wing mirrors seem to sit either too high or they're too big, and I can't really work out what the issue is. I just know that it's difficult sometimes to see what's coming from, like through a roundabout, for example. Because everywhere else, visibility in this car is great. There's heaps of light coming in. thanks to the rear window that's massive. The side windows are also really big too. So yeah, for a car that has really great visibility everywhere else, that's just one little downfall that I've found. But it could just be my seating position, to be honest. Look past its minor flaws like that ultra-sensitive throttle and sometimes overzealous CVT, and the Nissan X-TRAIL ST is a breeze to live with. It might not be the smartest or sexiest mid-size SUV on the market, and if you want a car with all the latest gadgets, you'll have to move up a grade or two or shop elsewhere. But for families on a budget, the X-TRAIL ST makes a lot of sense. My latex baby loves it. He was so quiet and not a squeak from the adorable little shit machine. But even without kids in tow, there's a lot to like about the X-TRAIL. Simple, fuss-free and good value. What's not to love? Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, give us a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you think of the Nissan X-TRAIL. Would you buy this or one of its rivals?